Hello everyone and welcome to Behind the Warrior podcast. I am your host Maria Shabla and today we're excited to be on site at the 10th annual EOD, IED and Countermine Symposium hosted by Defense Strategies Institute. We are now excited to talk with Colonel Shawn Kadlec, EOD Commandant of the U.S. Army Ordnance School. Thanks for being with us, Shawn. So Shawn, you and I actually have something in common in the fact that we were both at bomb holder Germany. Can you tell us your story about discovering a World War II bomb?
Yeah, so it was kind of actually one of my initial introductions to EOD and the impact that we have. There was recently transferred over from being a field artillery lieutenant to ordnance, was serving on garrison staff. We had some different construction projects going on, and as frequently happens over in Europe, a World War II bomb was dug up. The Germans were officially responsible for coming and taking care of it, but the garrison commander was adamant that he wanted Army EOD on site, advising him and keeping him apprised of the situation. So.
Wow.
It was a great introduction to the value that many of our leaders put on Army EOD. So it was a great intro.
And so that led you to becoming interested in the career field and cross training eventually?
Yeah. So I was kind of at that point in my career. It was time to go to the captain's career course. So it was either do I stay in, do I get out? What do I want to do if I stay in? So it was a very well-timed event to introduce me to EOD and led me down a great career path.
Wonderful, wonderful. So can you tell our listeners some of the highlights of your career thus far?
Yeah, so and it's been a fantastic ride. Pretty much every minute of it. So, but yeah, the highlights would absolutely have to be company command. Deploying to Iraq with the company out of Fort Monmouth, New Jersey. Just incredible soldiers. There literally hasn't been a day that's gone by where something hasn't happened that just made me appreciate more and more the soldiers and NCOs that I had there at the 754th. So absolutely a highlight there. I did my battalion command in Hawaii.
Nice.
So
Aloha.
So not a bad place to be stationed in the first place, but the mission out there is absolutely incredible. So probably one of the few battalions, some of the few companies in the Army that truly do just about everything that an EOD tech can do. From civil support missions, theater security cooperation, different things. So just literally, we had people bouncing somewhere across Asia on any given day. So it was a fantastic mission and a great experience that I was able to bring with me to Fort Gregg Adams as in my previous job as the director of TPO and now as the EOD Commandant. So the TPO, its staff, it doesn't sound like it should be fun, but it really is an impactful organization, and so very rewarding when some of those projects and everything come together and it's going to have a good impact on the field down the road.
Oh, I bet. That's awesome. So you're relatively new to your new role as the EOD Commandant. Can you tell us about that?
Yep, so took over the Commandant position in late June. So still trying to figure out what the heck a Commandant is, but no, bad jokes aside, looking forward to continuing in this job. Relatively new position for the Army, so I'm it's about 3 years old. I'm actually the third commandant now, so very much still kind of forming and shaping the office and what it is that we do. But a couple of the highlights, some direct responsibility for personnel proponency and managing our career field from personnel perspective. And hopefully getting everything from career skills certifications developed to improving our access to training with industry, advanced civil schoolings, different things along those lines.
Wow.
And then just advising the Chief of Ordnance. He's ultimately the decision maker for the branch, so advising him on EOD matters, everything from doctrine and our organizational design, heavy on the training. That's predominantly what the Ordnance School is responsible for, So looking forward to what the future holds in this position.
Wow, wow. So, and today you presented on Army Vision, developing the future EOD technicians to ensure culture of maintenance and cultivate a strong future workforce. So what were the key takeaways from that?
So I should have had a different title there. I didn't get the full title updated for the brochure there, but so a couple of the key themes there is so number one is developing the future technician, and a lot of that, again, is kind of centered on how are we training our EOD techs, how are we developing their knowledge, skills, and behaviors, both prior to EOD school. And then after they graduate EOD school, they do their non-commissioned officer courses, their advanced courses as officers. So a lot of it, again, just very much training our officers and NCOs throughout the duration of their careers, and really transforming and modernizing what those courses consist of. So that's the future technician piece of it. The other theme that I went with for today's presentation was improving the EOD network. So the EOD field as a whole has that's actually one of the things that I love about EOD. Great working relationships, partnerships with all of our joint service partners, as well as interagency partners, public safety bomb squads, international, EOD units across the globe. So we have a robust network. How do we better use that network? So DHS, kind of my go-to example for right now, they have a Department of Homeland Security has a set of courses that they train and teach. They're all certified. How do we bring that into the Army in some way, shape, or form? Get our soldiers to those courses, enhance their careers while they're in, potentially set them up for life after the Army as well.
Wow, that's awesome. So today you did speak about developing the future EOD technician. How is the future EOD tech the same or different than today's EOD tech?
Great question.
Thank you.
So I think and in fact it's not even I know one thing that will stay constant, over from our past and well into our future is the EOD soldier's brain, and it probably sounds cliche and obvious, but the most important tool that an EOD tech has had and always will have is their mind, their skills, their intuition. There is, right now there is no piece of technology that can replace what an EOD tech does.
Wow.
So I think that's always going to be a constant. What we are looking to try and do, going forward is how do we reduce some of those burdens that we do place on our soldiers? So how do we use robotics, artificial intelligence? What are those other tools, other technological developments that we can do to enable our soldiers, keep them safer, allow them to perform their jobs better. But it's always going to come back down to the individual EOD tech and his or her skills.
Right, right. And EOD is one of the most dangerous career fields in the military. So, Shawn, can you tell us what makes a good EOD tech?
So, great question again. A lot of things that go into making a great EOD tech. We definitely have a reputation for our arrogance. Arrogance is not a thing that makes a great EOD tech necessarily, but we definitely need EOD techs who are confident in their abilities. I just had a great discussion with somebody out in the symposium earlier, talking about creativity and how do we train that or assess that as part of our, particularly our leader development. But I think it applies to what makes a great EOD tech as well. Is we have our processes and procedures, but you need to have that creativity to be able to deviate when the circumstances require. So definitely some good intellect and judgment on knowing our procedures, our processes, but then recognizing when you need to deviate, having the creativity to do so, and the confidence in your decision to execute. So I would say those are probably three things anyway.
So if you're listening to this and you are looking for a career path, EOD.
Yeah, EOD.
And that brings me to ask, what about diversity in the career field? Do you see that they're lacking in diversity, or do you believe that it's a diverse group of individuals in EOD?
Hey, so great question, hard question. No secret that EOD, I think as a whole is very male dominated and probably overly represented by white males in particular. So I wish I had an answer for why. The military is an all-volunteer force at this point, and then coming into EOD, you've got to volunteer again. So, so why do some demographics, or why are certain demographics drawn to EOD, whereas others may not? So certainly something we need to look at and potentially address as a force. On the officer side, I think we have a little bit easier time with recruiting and trying to diversify the force a little bit, just because it is easier to get out to an ROTC program at different universities, things like that. So probably a little bit more of a challenge on the enlisted side.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess what I would ask for from the force, anybody that's watching this, is how are you as an individual through our different recruiting efforts. The Army in particular, our units are very proactive in recruiting in-service recruits. So how are we going about that, and how are we targeting individuals to potentially bring into EOD?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and so like you mentioned, if we have any viewers or listeners with children that are looking for an exciting career, EOD is very exciting, right? And it's funny though, I have several friends that have children that are graduating high school and they're going into the military.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So yeah, that's
we
good.
All services right now have a little bit of a recruiting crunch. So
yeah.
It's good to hear we're getting a few anyway.
And interesting that we're talking about this because the EOD Warrior Foundation has just started working with some female instructors at the NAV School EOD, and working with them, I've learned that they started a mentor program for women going through the school, and it was interesting to learn from their perspective that typically, the proportion of men to women ratio in the career field is enormous, and most of the women that graduate the school will go to a unit where they are the only female in the unit. So they're kind of trying to help mentor these students to be, know to expect that and how to navigate those waters. So that's very interesting that we even touched on this. Okay, Shawn, so you know that everybody in our community loves to eat. Can you tell us what your favorite food is?
Great question again. So the kind of wide open. Tell you one of the favorite things. I don't peruse Facebook a whole lot, but EOD Chefs has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So there are some amazing cooks on that in that group, and they do a great job of bringing out some ideas and introducing me to new foods.
Oh, so, that's so great to hear.
I like trying to replicate what I see on there and branch off from there. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun.
So shout out to Chris Rogers. That's awesome. Yes, and EOD Chefs started a cook-off at the Memorial weekend.
Yeah, so fingers crossed, maybe I'll get down there for the Memorial this year.
Oh, good.
Maybe I'll get to cook as part of the competition.
Oh, yeah, wow, that would be amazing. So we've got another contestant, and I heard that they're actually going to do teams this year.
That's right.
So
I did
4
see a team.
teams.
So yeah, we'll have to see what the Army's doing.
Yeah, see what the Army's up to. Well, great. That's wonderful. Well, Shawn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. And we wish you the best in your new position.
All right. Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.